Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. I was like, well,
the camera's on.
Well, good morning and hello, kids. People were going to be listening to the audio on this one and go, why did he start that way? That's weird.
I'll change it.
You had to see it. And welcome to the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Always 100% Canadian. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A. And with me is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. And I'm so happy to see you today. Today, recording day is Thursday, February 20th, 2025. Looks like it's going to be, well, it's grayish here. But I think it'll be okay because I was out a little earlier this morning and it wasn't that ridiculously cold. So I think we're out of the worst of the big cold snap that we had. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be a nice day here at the Beaver Lodge. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A. And a big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. And I think I introduced myself twice there. But hey, that's okay.
Fine.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. I brought all of me.
Good. I didn't know you could leave any of you behind. That would be rather frightening.
Oh, we used to have a teacher in high school when he was in class, and you're a teenager and you're often daydreaming or just not awake yet at 9 in the morning, and then it's like, Monsieur Connors, vous êtes là, physiquement, mentalement. it's like Mr. Connors, you're there physically, mentally. Are you present?
I was present in body only. Did you go to Charlebois?
I did.
Yeah. Un, deux, trois, Charlebois. Now it's St. Pat's.
I know. It's like a complete total perversion because I think it was the first public high school, not Catholic high school, actually built from scratch purposely for the Franco-Ontarian community.
Correct. Yeah.
And now it is a Catholic English school. So it's like,
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. St. Pat's was a school just down the street.
Yes.
Like not far from there. And they
far.
Yeah, that's. I think they teach class, but it's not St. Pat's anymore. It's something else. I think it's.
Yeah.
For a while, it was an Islamic Cultural Center. I'm not sure what it is now. I don't get out the way very often, but yeah, Charlebois.
St. Pat's was growing.
Yes, yeah. So
and Charlebois was a huge school.
Massive school.
And by the time I graduated, we were down to 550 students.
Yeah, not nearly big enough. Not nearly enough of population to fulfill the size of the school. It's a big school.
It's really big. It was gorgeous too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we used to we'd drive by it and go, oh, there's the Adidas. Because remember, it had
Yep.
the 3 yellow stripes on the blue,
Right,
like this.
right,
Oh,
right.
eat it.
Yep. It had all it was the God, we
Very
should find a
1980s.
picture. We should find a picture of it somewhere, like the old one, because you have
Yeah.
to. You can't explain it.
No, you have to see it.
You have to see it.
And it was built in 1979, I think.
I
78 or
think it opened in
79.
'73. Did it?
Oh, was it that early?
It might have
Oh,
been that early. Yeah, it
oh,
was a really big deal when it was
yeah,
built.
yeah.
Like
And just
it's
down the street
it's historic.
just down the street from Charlevoix is Ridgemont,
Richmond, yes.
which is at the time had the best was known as having the best math program in the
Mm,
city. I don't know if that's the case anymore, but I did work in Ridgemont about 15 years ago, and it's an old building.
mm.
Is
It's an old building.
I mean, I wouldn't want to attend school there. It's old.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We were sort of like because St. Pat's was old and Richmond was old, and we had like
Yeah,
the well, I
brand
mean,
new.
pretty new. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I think I think it was '89 when I started high school. So I mean, I
I
don't think
graduated in '86, so
uh, I don't think the building was 20 years old yet
no,
when
I
I
don't
was in
think
it.
so. I'm not
Yeah.
sure, but yeah,
Oh,
it was.
love that
Yeah.
school.
Now it's St. Pat's. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm one of those weird kids that, you know, a lot of people say like high school is weird and stuff like that. And yes, high school is weird, especially
Yeah,
when you're still in the closet. Um,
I wouldn't know
but
about that, but yeah, I'm sure that must have been very difficult.
well, it was kind of weird because it's like it was, everybody knew.
You,
And I did not know
and
everybody
you're the
knew,
only one who
and
didn't
I
know.
didn't know yet, right? So but
It's kind of funny.
everybody knew. It was, like, tattooed right here, which is why as an adult, I'm surprised that not everybody knew, because now most people, when I present and I'm talking to people, they don't know unless I tell them or they see me with Alex, and I'm like,
Yeah,
"Seriously?" It's like, it's written right here.
yeah.
It's like, "All of this is fabulous." Like,
It's
"Really?
it's
You didn't pick this up?"
it's not blatantly obvious. It's not
Yeah, but
blatantly obvious though.
it turns out that it's not, but I always thought I was because as a kid,
Yeah, you were just trying to
everybody
hide
knew.
it as much as possible, right? And everybody knew. Yeah.
Jeez. I mean, let's put it this way. Okay, gay,
Mhm.
if used in a whole other way, means happy.
Happy, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my nickname. Hey,
Gay?
happy.
Oh, happy. Okay.
I only figured it out like
Years later.
many years later.
That's funny.
I thought it was just because I was sunny.
Nope.
It's because I was farting rainbows. I, I s-
It's
I
really
was
funny.
I was a dancer.
Yeah, yeah.
I had so much movement. I had so much swish in my hips when I was a kid. It was so obvious, man. Uh, anyway. ah, we have a show for you today, kids and cubs. We are going. How's your mental health today, sir? By the way.
Yeah, let's not talk about it.
All right. We have a show to you today. Well, you know what? Mental health related, because today we're going to talk about Her Royal Highness Empress Danielle Smith, and she finally deemed Albertans worthy of hearing from her
Oh,
on the AHS thing after 2 full weeks. Oh, subjects, I'm going to come and talk at you and explain to you why this is not my fault in any way. And this is not my government's fault in any way. And grab you by the shoulders and point you in the direction of who it is that I think you should blame. And do it all in a very calm and reasonable voice, using a lot of words and talking about a lot of processes and things. But ultimately, not doing sweet fuck all. Or actually, I should say, or doing sweet fuck all, not doing the damn thing. I used a double negative. Whoops. I listened to it yesterday, and I actually was not going to go into this at all because it was it was like 26 minutes of just word vomit, verbal diarrhea. But the two things that you absolutely understood when it was all over is that she had nothing to do with it.
No, completely innocent.
Nothing at all. Because it takes you 2 weeks to come out to say you got nothing, you didn't had nothing at all to do with something, usually, right? Sorry. I cannot stand. She's so good at it, right? It's like the utter insult to the intelligence is I have anybody listening to this, I have a very strong bias against her. So you might want to take a grain of salt or two, what I say. But she pushes my button. She pushes that button. I have, my two things, right? Lying to the public in such a way that just insults their intelligence and getting in the way of their right to cast a fully informed vote. Those two things just piss me off. Democracy. And the thing is we're big on mental health here.
Very much so.
He is fucking with all of us. Pardon my language.
No, he is.
But whoa.
Yeah.
What she did yesterday was such a brain. There's no other word. This is abusive.
Oh, yeah.
It's abusive. So we will show it. It's going to be boring as hell and your eyes will glaze over because of all the verbal diarrhea and the process and whatnot. But as I often say, pay attention to what it is that she's trying very hard not to say. Because to the two messages, she wants you to know that one, it wasn't her, and the second one is it was all AHS.
Yeah, she's completely innocent of everything.
Everything that went wrong was AHS. And she's been wanting to fix AHS for the longest time. But
in other words, privatize it?
But, Danielle, because, she's always the underdog and always the one that's being so hard done by.
Oh, yes.
Right. Made sure to cast herself in role as not only innocent, but victim. Because all she wants to do, she knows it has a problem. All she wants to do is fix it. She's meeting with so much resistance.
I want to smack her.
They're just being so unreasonable.
Said I want to smack her.
Is better.
I'm not going to.
I'm
not going to, but I want to.
So, leading up to this, there was one member of the UCP caucus. And I tell you, kids and cubs, I swear, in Canada, we don't have the ability to recall the premiers or the prime minister. But there is such thing as caucus revolt. That's how they got rid of Redford. Why it is this UCP caucus is not having a meeting. I said, oh, hell no. It's like, listen, we were willing to ride with you, but no, this is getting a little too salty and we want to keep our jobs, so you got to go. That's not happening for some reason. There is one person who did, trying to figure out what his name was at the top, Mr. Guthrie. His name was Peter Guthrie, who is the infrastructure minister, UCP. He did come out and say that, a head should roll. I believe he called for Minister LaGrange to step aside. So one person in that whole caucus stood up. and asked for the Premier to remove Health Minister Adriana LaGrange from her post while investigations continued into the serious allegations. He had done it by a memo that he sent Thursday to his cabinet colleagues. The memo got out. There does not seem to be anything that indicates that he's the one that leaked it. So, but it did get out. Now, if he was not the one that made his own memo public and it did get out, well, then Danielle might have another problem. Just saying. But yeah, he said, considering the mounting allegations, I would like to reiterate my recommendation from cabinet on Tuesday, Guthrie's memo states. So he said it in a meeting on Tuesday and then put it on paper on Thursday, I guess. He lays out 5 urgent actions: remove Andre Tremblay as CEO and Administrator of AHS and as Deputy Minister of the Health Ministry until such time as an investigation is complete. That only partially happened. Oh, yes, in the Danielle Smith kind of way. Yes. Tremblay was appointed as interim CEO and the one-man board of directors of the Massive Hospitals Agency last month, right? But he was also Deputy Minister of Health at the same time. So he got removed from one of those 2 jobs. He's still the CEO of AHS, though. I'm removing. She doesn't remove the health minister. She removes the deputy minister of health. I'm removing the deputy minister of health, but the deputy minister of health is still the CEO of AHS. How's that for some freaking gaslighting for you?
Unbelievable.
Oh my God. I just, then he said, Minister Adriana LaGrange should be moved to another unrelated ministry until an investigation is complete. 2 other ministries have key roles in parts of the health system, mental health and addiction, as well as seniors and community supports. Asked about the memo, the Premier signaled on a regular call-in show on Saturday, because remember, she took the previous Saturday off. She needed an extra week. That LaGrange still has her confidence in the health portfolio. Quote, I think she's doing such an amazing and important work on the refocus of the healthcare system, she said. Guthrie's email to his cabinet colleagues also calls on, quote, our government to fully support Auditor General Doug Wiley in his investigation and to, quote, require the completion and access to the third-party forensic audit that Metsalopoulos stated in the lawsuit she launched in November. Because in December, according to her statement of claim, Metsalopoulos was instructed by an Alberta health official to wind up an internal investigation. Quote, if any of the information obtained appears to be criminal in nature, all materials must be turned over to the RCMP immediately, Guthrie's letter states. It is my strong recommendation that we do not hesitate any longer and implement these recommendations today. So, we've got one person with some integrity who tried to convince the cabinet and the Premier to do these things. Remove Andre Tremblay as both the DM, Deputy Minister, and the CEO of AHS. Make sure that any information that appears to be criminal in nature gets turned over to the RCMP immediately. That's not what we got. that's nowhere what we got. There was calls, remember, from I think it was leader of the opposition, Nancy, for a full judicial inquiry into this, because this would be big. This would be big. That's not what happened. That's not what Albertans got yesterday. Oh my God. Before, I'll show you some visual. David Clement Haga, who we very much like here. Still struggling to control damage from dodgy contract scandal, Danielle Smith claims AHS conspired to block UCP private surgery scheme. Finally responding in person to $1.7 million wrongful dismissal lawsuit, Alberta Premier attacks work of former CEO. Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. Finally responding in person to Athana Metsalopoulos' $1.7 million wrongful dismissal lawsuit, Premier Danielle Smith stood up at a government news conference in Calgary yesterday and spent part of the tightly controlled half-hour event publicly attacking her former Alberta Health Services CEO for the way she did her job before the government fired her on January 8th. I don't know what Ms. Metsalopoulos or her legal counsel are going to do about the Premier's implication or handpicked AHS chief executive intentionally stood in the way of the government's efforts to restructure the healthcare system and failed to inform her political bosses of her concerns about pressure to approve dodgy contracts. But if I were in their shoes, I'd be working on a revised statement of claims seeking an increase in damages for the additional harm intentionally done to the plaintiff's reputation. That's the second paragraph.
Wow.
Yeah. As NDP leader Naheed Nenshi put it, the Premier's news conference was, quote, a masterclass in gaslighting. The Premier is still struggling to control the damage caused by the allegation in Ms. Metsalopoulos' February 12th statement of claim that she was fired for launching an investigation of sketchy procurement deals and contracts with private surgical companies pushed by influential staffers working for the United Conservative Party government, including in the Premier's office. Ms. Smith's goal from the start to finish yesterday was to avoid talking about Ms. Metsalopoulos' bombshell allegations of interference that the former CEO said resulted in higher costs to taxpayers. In this, the Premier largely succeeded. She did so by rambling on about the timelines of the AHS approval process and striving to lend credibility to tendentious claims. Ms. Metsalopoulos had not informed Health Minister Adriana Lagrange of her concerns about the contracts in a timely manner, had thrown roadblocks in the way of government policy, and generally acted in a way that justified her dismissal. The Premier's staff helped by cutting off a reporter who persisted with aggressive questions. There's one journalist that wasn't happy with one and a follow-up, given what Danielle did with their answers, so insisted on pursuing a line of questioning.
Mm-hmm.
We need more of that. Never mind that the proper place to respond to the plaintiff's allegation in her statement of claim is in a courtroom. The Premier's goal clearly was to leave the impression any dodgy contracts were someone else's fault, maintaining that they originated entirely within AHS and that her government is determined to get to the bottom of what happened, said Danielle with very sincere and earnest face. And we'll get to the bottom of it. You could count on me. Would I lie? Yeah, you would. But there will be no proper public inquiry into the allegations. Ms. Smith made it clear. As a result, there can be no credible resolution to the scandal. Naturally, there was no promise, let alone a guarantee, that whatever the investigation entirely controlled by her government discovers will be passed on to the public. Yes, Ms. Metsalopoulos' allegations and her claim she was fired in, quote, an arbitrary, capricious, callous, high-handed, and bad faith manner for properly carrying out her duty to investigate high-level interference with overpriced contracts were bound to set off a political storm. But were it not for the Premier's adoption of the full MAGA strategy of always attacking and denying everything, this could have been handled more diplomatically. The matter is, after all, now before the courts. And what is the standard answer when a matter is before the courts? I'm sorry, I can't respond to that question because the matter is before the courts. I wouldn't want to influence the case. But did Danielle do that? Oh, hell no. Oh, shit. She did not. During the newser, Miss Smith repeated her claim she had nothing to do with anything beyond general policy decisions. Quote, I was not involved in these procurement decisions. I had nothing to do with the process decisions or the implementation. The courts may eventually have something to say about the aggressive strategy adopted by Alberta's head of government, assuming a deal is not quietly struck with Metsalopoulos to prevent that from happening. Little resolution out of court. Couple of extra million thrown in. Hey, it's just your money, Alberta. But everybody says, shh. Right? I have a feeling Miss Metzelopoulos might not be open to that. I mean, she's gone this far. Especially if after this press conference, if now she looks at this as, okay, pardon my language, but, oh, no, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to use the B word. Okay, it's on. Hold my earrings. If Miss Metzelopoulos is that type of person, considering what this in the statement of claim and considering the number of receipts she kept, Danielle may have her butt handed to her. Deep fried with a side of something.
One would hope.
Because so far, this AHS CEO has done everything by the book in both how she was going about her stuff and keeping all the receipts, because clearly she felt she needed to keep receipts.
Yeah.
Just say. Right? I mean, you should always, when you're in public service, CYA, cover your ass. Make sure you note everything and you got everything copied and written down. But sometimes you're in a situation where oh, I better keep this. This might come in handy later. Yeah. And she seems to be, I mean, if she's good with like spotting contracts and going, hey, maybe this is not new comparative reads of contracts and going, hey, maybe this is not cool. I'm guessing that she's probably somebody has a lot of rigor and a lot of method.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I would be worried if I was Danielle.
They had I don't know if you've seen this clip, but watch her body language in it. It's all of 19 seconds.
Yep.
It's a question from a caller.
Hi, my question is both for the Premier and the Minister. It's a yes or no question. Have you ever received any kickbacks from any private surgical contractors, yes or no?
No. No.
Whoa.
I love the way. Have you ever received any kickbacks from any? Like, it caught her completely off guard. She just didn't know how to respond.
Okay, there's some body language there.
Yeah.
Wow. That wasn't no. Or no, that didn't happen. That was there was a lot of body there.
Isn't that a bit of a kickback right there? Sitting in the luxury box.
Oh,
that's a kickback. Government employees are not allowed to accept things like that. They're not.
Yes, but remember, she changed the rules.
She did change the rules, yeah, so they can.
That was a priority. And again, similar to a question I asked yesterday, what would be the reason for which one would change the rules about how many gifts they're allowed to receive and their value if it wasn't for...
Yeah.
I mean, what purpose would that serve? How does that make governing more effective? How does that put food on your table? How does that find you a job? How does that find you a doctor? How does that...
Yeah.
But that was a priority. Remember, Kits and Cubs, and this is not just for politics, but our interpersonal relationships in life. One person's priorities are the things for which they make time. They can say, oh, this is an important priority. But look at what they spend their time on. That's their priorities. We continue. So let's see here. All right. In the meantime, let's go back to this one. Miss Smith made it clear she won't... Oh, yes. In the meantime, Miss Smith made it clear she won't be firing Miss LaGrange, whatever Infrastructure Minister Peter Guthrie thinks she ought to do. It is less clear what will happen to Mr. Guthrie, but it seems quite possible that he won't be fired either if the episode can be made to disappear expeditiously down the memory hole. There is no evidence, after all, that he leaked his own letter to his cabinet colleagues saying Miss LaGrange should be replaced. Not that a lack of evidence is necessarily an impediment to this government's plans. Oh, David. You appeal to my petty. Andre Trombley, the senior civil servant who just days ago the premier declared to be AHS's everything everywhere all at once, official administrator, acting CEO, and deputy minister of health, 3 for the price of 1, will be replaced on an interim basis as deputy minister by an associate deputy minister of health, Darren Headley. It's not okay now to have him doing both things. Some people complained about that, so we'll just remove him from one of the jobs, and then we'll put another one of my deputy ministers of health in the job that he just had. So I still control the process, and there's no material change in any way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
But I moved someone. Give 'em the old razzle dazzle, razzle dazzle him.
Wasn't that a television show?
It was in Chicago.
Huh?
Oh, the Razzle Dazzle Hour, yes.
It
That
was
is from Chicago.
The Hudson Brothers Razzle Dazzle Hour, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Razzle Dazzle. Look at me. I removed the DM. I'll put the other DM in. Look at me take action. Oh, what? The DM I removed is still the CEO of Asia. Shh.
Don't tell anybody.
Don't bring attention to that.
Just look over there.
So now I have 2 DMs in the 2 different things that are both. So nothing changed. Listen, I'll give her one thing. She's good at this.
Oh, yes.
She's damn good at this. But this is something that you should not be good at. It's like all those hours and that skill and that dedication could have been used to advance something good.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if she used all that media talent to push, I don't know, for people to adopt stray puppies or find a cure for cancer. I guess, or push for a UBI. But it's just
anything good.
It's like, if you have evil powers, use them for good. Jeez. Here we go. Both the Premier and Health Minister insisted all contracts were strictly an internal AHS matter and made concerted attacks on Alberta Health Services, channeling Donald Trump and trying to make it sound as if there were a deep state conspiracy throughout the organization to slow down the government's plan to privatize surgical services. Quote, AHS leadership has always shown us resistance, and it's clear that they would rather keep all surgeries in hospitals only operated by Alberta Health Services, Ms. Smith complained at one point. This is unlikely, but if true suggests someone spoke up for the well-understood fact, it makes far more sense to run things that way, notwithstanding the cherry-picked statistics the Premier trotted out as a comparison of private and public surgical costs. And here's one thing. He explains it there, and I'm glad what comes next he explains. I'm glad he did, because the thing with Danielle Smith, she talks so fast.
Yes.
And so smoothly that when she trots out a fact, or when she makes a claim, you really have no idea if it's true or not. Right? She doesn't go, sometimes she does in the frame like this, but she tends not to go to these wild things that just cannot possibly be feasible, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is sort of like, well, it costs this much money. The Canadian Institutes for Health Research says it costs too much to do this. Well, we're doing these for cheaper because we got them at this price and this price and this price, but there's a whole bunch of different prices and they're so widely varying. We need to figure out why that is. And you're sitting there, and it's like, listen, the entire time she's like, can I get a fact check on that, please? Because I have no way of knowing. Like, I really look into this. I have no way. They were coming so fast of yours. And it all sounds reasonable.
Well,
that's the scary part with her.
Spin it, right?
But you really have to pay attention to the words and they're in their order.
Oh, yeah.
And you need almost like a PhD in Aristotelian logic to point. It's like, oh, there's a fallacious argument. There's a sophistry. Because she's so good at weaving this stuff into a tale. Right? She creates mood. So, this part is important here. Please note, dear readers, that an estimate of the true cost of surgeries in public facilities by the respected Canadian Institute of Health Information, or CIHI, is not the same thing as a per-operation price bid by a private company for a contract to perform surgeries. She was comparing one to the other, and then claiming she was saving Alberta a lot of money. The first, the true cost of a surgery in a public facility, as calculated by CIHI, the first is likely to have weight. The latter, the per operation price bid by private company, is an advertising pitch. Both ignore the impact of creaming easy surgeries off to for-profit contractors while dumping complex operations on the public system. That's the other thing. You have to understand, all these chartered surgical facilities, they take the easy cases. Because they can crank them out. Pop, 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 pop. They get paid for everyone. The more difficult cases, the one that require longer surgeries, whatnot, remain in the public system. So, right, they're getting paid a lot of money for interventions that are simpler. So, when you're comparing costs, it's like, if Mr. Grizzly runs a business and I run a business, and Mr. Grizzly picks all the low-hanging fruit, and I have to go dig, it's going to cost me more.
Exponentially more.
You got to take that into account when you factor in, when you compare the numbers. Danielle doesn't do that.
Oh, why would she?
No, God, no. Jeez, no. Then, Miss Smith also said she would be setting up a legal conflicts wall. Nobody knows what that is.
You're right.
all over the internet, it's like lawyers. Is there a lawyer in the house that can tell me what a legal conflicts wall is? Well, what's that? But it sounds good, doesn't it? I'm the premier. Oh my God, this thing is terrible. We need to get to the bottom of this. I'm going to move this. I'm going to remove this DM. We'll still be the HSEO, and I'll put up a legal conflicts wall so that people that are here can still keep on doing what I'm doing. But you think that they're not getting information that they shouldn't have while they're doing the bad thing that I told them to do, that they still get to keep on doing uninterrupted. Yeah, sure. Miss Smith also said she would be setting up a legal conflicts wall so that those like Miss Lagrange and Mr. Tremblay named in Miss Mitsalopoulos's statement of claim could continue to stay on the job without being able to interfere in the effort to investigate what actually took place. How this is supposed to work is not clear and requires pretzel logic to believe. However, as Mr. Nenshi observed in a statement sent to media soon after the premier's news ended, quote, despite all our talk of legal walls, people will be investigating and reporting to their own bosses. Albertans have every right to be deeply suspicious. The premier's story makes no sense, and she's clearly trying to hide the truth about alleged government corruption, Mr. Nenshi said. The premier claims that the minister was trying to get to the bottom of this for 8 months and never told the premier, and that the premier had no idea of what her chief of staff was doing. If this is true, both the premier and the minister are incompetent and must go. If she's lying about it, Albertans deserve a premier who tells the truth.
It's not going to happen, though. You'll never get a premier to tell the truth, especially when it comes to Danielle Smith. It's just not going to happen. She's incapable of it.
Yep. It's important to note that the allegations made in Ms. Mensalopoulos' statement of claim have not been tested in a court of law. Hold on. I need to do this for this. It's also probably important to note that at this point, many of the allegations made by Premier Smith in defense of the way her government does business haven't been tested in a court of law either. Meow, Mr. Climate Haga. Meow. Oh.
David doesn't pull his punches. He goes straight for the throat.
Oh.
A karate chop to the throat.
We have good journalists, good writers. We do.
Oh, yes.
Not many of them are working for mainstream media.
Unfortunately,
try to print that in mainstream media.
It wouldn't happen. You got to remember, most mainstream media is owned by American right-wing evangelical, tied to Opus Dei and the PBCC. It's a religious cabal, and they really don't believe in telling us the actual truth. They tell us what they want us to hear. Remember, the medium is the message. They're never going to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you what they want you to know and nothing more. And that is dangerous. It's dangerous to democracy. It's dangerous to freedom. It's dangerous to our rights. It's dangerous to the next election, whenever that may be.
So, Mr. Grizzly, I just sent you the CPAC coverage, link to it, of what happened yesterday. And we'll take a look at it. And normally I show you the visual first and I do the stuff after. But I wanted to do the David Clemahega thing first so that you look for these things when you watch it. Okay. Because, like I said, she's so smooth, I guess. And I watched it yesterday and I'm like, I was done after it. And it's like, what did I just watch here?
Yeah.
And what did, you know that, have you ever seen the movie The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas?
About a century ago, but yes, I have.
Yeah, and they have the governor of the state or whatnot like this, and they're doing like this media scrum, and it's this big number, whatnot. Yeah. The one journalist goes, "Was that a yes or no?" I think that was a possible maybe.
Yeah,
right. That's what I felt after that. Was like, that was so. What? So what does all this mean? Like, has anything changed? Like, what? I was really confused.
Understand.
I knew I had been gaslighted. I just didn't know how. Because the way she weaves a tale and just uses these little facts and angling and she's doing so much, right? She's denying her involvement. She's protecting her minister. Yes, but she's also trying to sully Metsalopoulos and trying to sully AHS. And in all of this, one overarching question is like, yeah, but it's like, you fired Metsalopoulos, but you also fired the entire board.
Yeah.
What'd you fire them for?
Well,
this didn't get asked in this. The media didn't get. But
can't have anyone who could, possibly fight back, which is why there's a massive lawsuit being launched against her.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So that the overall bath, all of this is swimming in. It's like, yeah, but you also fired the entire board. It's like, what did they do wrong? So it's going to be messy. It doesn't make sense.
We'll just start, I guess, from the beginning and go from there.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. I'm joined this afternoon by Minister of Health, Adriana LaGrange, and I want to address the procurement issues at Alberta Health Services in the context of our relentless pursuit of better health care for all Albertans. I think all Albertans would agree that wait times for surgeries are too long. Hip replacements, knee replacements, and cataract surgeries are examples.
Well,
framing, right? Framing.
Whose fault is that?
Yes, but the framing, right?
Yeah.
Like this comes in, I would like to address this, starts talking about something else. I think we would all agree that.
Yes.
Okay.
We would all agree that. But whose fault is that? Who funds healthcare? Who's responsible for that?
But this type of rhetorical device is,
Mhm.
okay,
It's
from her
manipulation.
perspective, right? I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
I need to get through these 30 minutes. In the first minute, I'm going to try to bring people on my side. I think you will all agree. It's a very clever rhetorical device.
She's a master manipulator.
Yes.
I mean, I think she went to the same school as David Parker did. Oh, well, he was homeschooled. Never mind.
Yeah.
We've
But
made
pay
progress
attention to
on
the framing.
shortening those wait times, but they still remain too long. At its heart, that's what the questions have been raised are all about. There are people both inside and outside of government who are okay with the status quo. Some, either because of ideology or to protect their interests, accept the current results. I do not. I want to provide some more context to this. To deal with surgical backlogs, Alberta Health Services followed the strategic direction provided by previous governments, signed contracts with charter surgical facilities to help alleviate pressure on our health system and increase capacity.
In other words, the public system is failing. Let's bring in the private sector. They'll fix it.
But again, framing. She's the champion.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Right? There are all these things. The wait times are too long. And there are some people that seem to be okay with that. But I'm not. If you weren't okay with it, you would have put in place a system and a process to speed them up that would have been so clean, it wouldn't get snagged by things like this.
Mm-hmm.
And because it has worked, we tried to expand these centres through new competitive bid processes. In terms of the latest RFP process for new facilities, the former CEO of Alberta Health Services made some very troubling allegations. And those allegations are serious and they are being investigated. We have asked the Auditor General to expedite his review so that we can have answers as soon as possible. I also want to make clear that AHS and AHS only was in charge of conducting procurement for these surgical facility contracts. And although they were awarded through an RFP process, those contracts have not yet been finalized, as I understand it. They will not be finalized until the organizations involved have been cleared of any wrongdoing. In terms of the review by the Auditor General, I have directed all government departments to provide the Auditor General with any information related to this matter. Our government will support the AG's office in any way it can.
These organizations until they have been cleared of any wrongdoing.
Mm-hmm.
So either the facilities or the AHS one, but never her or her government.
No. Well,
Any suggestion of wrongdoing by her or her government.
See, what we need in Alberta is Naheed Nenshi as the premier, and here's why. For a number of reasons, but one of the top reasons, right off the top. Remember when David Wallace says he tried to get dirt on Naheed Nenshi? Mm-hmm. He tried to bribe him. He tried. He says, I wish he would take it, but he wouldn't. He said, the man is honest. The man has integrity. He would not be bought out. He does things by the book and above board. This problem would not happen under a Nenshi government. It wouldn't. It wouldn't.
Yep. Now,
period.
Now, remember, she talks a lot about requests for proposals here. Remember when I read the whole thing, the last one that they were doing, or one of them, went through the RFP process, was denied, and then was given a 2-year contract, and that the directive came down. They said they were given a 2-year contract, and the directive came down stating from Minister LaGrange how much they would be paid for each of those services. So not everything went through the RFP. That's why I read the whole thing, because she's so good at this.
Yes.
Goes through an RFP like this. She went through an RFP, but she doesn't mention the one that got a contract, even though they failed the RFP process. Let's keep going.
Where did I put the clip? Oh, there it is. Sorry.
to expedite his investigation, and I'm confident that he'll get to the bottom of the allegations. I also have our newly appointed Acting Deputy Minister of Executive Council, Chris McPherson, working to retain a credible independent third party with a strong legal background, capable of investigating this matter independently of government so that we can understand exactly what occurred with regards to the procurement processes in question, whether there was any wrongdoing or improper interference with the procurement process, and why, despite months of requests, AHS never brought any substantive evidence or documentation related to this matter to the minister or to our government. At the same time, we must continue our work on the healthcare system refocusing. We simply will not allow Albertans to continue to wait too long for important surgeries or other procedures.
In other words, we're going to funnel them into the private chartered for-profit centers.
At least the easy cases. But that whole thing about nobody being made aware. No, Miss Mitsalopoulos had dinners with Miss LaGrange, where she was explaining what was going on. They wanted the paper stuff, the proof. But she was investigating them. So they were made aware. But the CEO would not put the physical proof in the hands of the people that she was investigating.
Well, no, we can't have that.
So when they're saying that, it's like, we asked for the information so that we could see proof of it, so that we could take action. So it's like, she's the AHS CEO. She's doing an investigation. She brought it to her board. The board recommended that they bring it to the Auditor General or the RCMP. I can't remember. RCMP, I think it was. That should be enough.
You think?
That should be enough. And if the investigation also includes things that may have gone down in the Prime Minister's office and the office of the Minister, name one investigation in which the investigators just hand over the evidence. Hey, OJ, here's your glove back.
Yeah.
You dropped this, sir. Oh, sorry, we stumbled upon your stash of child porn. Let's just put that away over here in the cabinet so that you can look at that later. So, this does not happen. It's like, there's some weird stuff going on in your office. It's like, well, just hand me the evidence and I'll take care of it. No, that's not how this works. These people.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's go.
Our cabinet today has made the decision to assign Darren Headley as the Acting Deputy Minister of Health. Andre Tremblay will continue as the interim CEO and official administrator of Alberta Health Services so that they can continue working with Minister Adriana LaGrange on the important work of healthcare refocusing. To that end, we will be setting up a legal conflicts wall within Alberta Health Services and Alberta Health so that Minister LaGrange, the interim AHS CEO and official administrator Andre Tremblay, and the Acting Deputy Minister of Health, Darren Headley, can all continue with the critical work of transforming AHS into an effective provider of healthcare services under the oversight of the new Alberta Acute Care Agency.
The show must
The legal
go
conflicts
on.
wall will ensure the complete independence of these investigations without the
not a thing.
involvement of the individuals named in the former CEO's statement of claim. I also want to reiterate a point I made last week. I was not involved in these procurement decisions. I had nothing to do with the process decisions or the implementation. My actions were straightforward. The government made a policy decision to
All I can picture is Tricky Dick Nixon. I'm not a crook.
expand surgical facilities
that.
to tackle the critical issues of wait times. When there were delays in implementing those policy decisions by AHS, the minister made inquiries into the reasons for those delays, just as I would expect any minister to do whenever there are delays with the implementation of any government policy or project. The minister has reported that she asked the former AHS CEO on a number of occasions for many months for information.
Again, she speaks so fast and goes so quick. It's to confuse
And goes
people.
from topic to topic to topic, right? And claim to claim and allegation to allegation. They're so fast. Listen, this no.
Yeah.
They were not asking about why. The meetings were not about why it was delayed, why they were taking so long to implement the changes that we wanted. The meetings were about there's something wrong with these contracts. Yeah. Now, for Danielle Smith and Adriana LaGrange, the thing that was wrong for the contracts, it seems, is that they were not signed yet, so that they can get on, and that was creating a delay. But the meetings were not about the delays. The meetings were about the contracts. The contracts created the delays. That's what I mean. She's so good. She's so good at it.
She's very good at it.
Right? That's
I mean, I think it's how she got elected. She just spun bullshit lies into silk, and people believed them.
It's like if you have a glass of red wine, right? And there's a red wine stain on the carpet, right? You sit there and goes, well, yes. Let's say it was your child, underage, drinking, got into your wine cabinet. Yes. The discussion you are having with the child is not about the wine stain in the carpet. It's about the fact that they went into your wine cabinet and took a bottle of wine, and that they should not be doing that. This is what Danielle Smith is doing. Well, we wanted to talk to them about the stain of the carpet. The stain of the carpet has been there for 3 months. We just want to know when it's going to be clean. Your 14-year-old drank wine when you weren't there. That's the issue. That's how the stain got in the carpet. So she wants to talk about the stain in the carpet, but not how it got there. She's really good. You have to really pay attention. It goes by so fast. All right. Let's keep it going.
Okie dokie.
Or reports on the issues that are now the subject of her statement of claim with little or no response, and that's not good enough. The former CEO knew that procurement was about to move into the new procurement secretariat. If there was evidence of problems with AHS procurement, I'd like to know why she didn't disclose it to the minister. We will get to the bottom of what happened here, and if there's any wrongdoing, we will fix it immediately. If mistakes were made, they will be corrected. At the same time, I want to reassure Albertans of our resolve. We will not allow anyone in Alberta Health Services Management or the NDP to frustrate the progress of improving our health system. Let me be clear. From the onset of our health plan to refocus healthcare, AHS leadership has always shown us resistance, and it is clear that they would rather keep all surgeries in hospitals only operated by Alberta Health Services, which would have resulted in 62,000 fewer surgeries for Albertans last year.
See, now tons of bullshit here.
Yeah.
Tons of bullshit here. Right? Counting the numbers and all that. There's so much fact checking. It's probably not a single word of this is true. Right? These
presumably, I don't know. I don't have those numbers in front of me to say they are.
And other than the HS numbers, right? And then the whole HS stuff. She fired the first board 2 years ago.
Right.
This is her board. She wants you to believe that her own board was unreasonably resisting her. That may have been credible on the first board that was there before she came along. And she wanted to do things but the board that she fired, the entire was the board. I don't know if she picked him, but
I have no idea.
It was the board that belonged after she already fired the first one. This is the second time she fires the entire board since she's been premier. So explain to me again, why did you fire the entire board? And you're really going to have us believe that the second board was resisting you? It doesn't make sense.
She's going to throw everybody under the bus to save her own skin.
And of course, and then we had the partisan moment, right? When we're not going to let the NDP stop us either. There's get that party's name out your trash mouth. There's no reason to bring them up here.
None.
Next.
That means 62,000 family members, moms and dads and neighbors would not have received their hip or their knee or other surgeries that they needed. We will not be intimidated by the resistance of Alberta Health Services management and others who want to protect the status quo. This is about better outcomes for Albertans, and nothing will stop us from continuing our important work. This is why we will continue to utilize charter surgical facilities and any other service provider who will help us get the best outcomes for Albertans.
So
We have been told.
So again, right back to private for-profit medicine.
Yep. Dictator Danny here.
Yeah.
We will not be intimidated. This will happen.
Yeah.
Lie back and take it.
I wonder if she's invested in any of those companies.
Wonder.
I mean, there's a kickback. Politicians should be against the rules for a politician to invest in any company that they do business with as a premier or an MP or an MPP or an MLA, period.
I would assume it is.
If it isn't,
I don't know
damn
for a
well
fact,
should be.
But I would assume it is.
I don't like to assume anything when it comes to ethics these days.
Yes, that is true.
I mean, come on.
Let's
In the
put it
United
this way.
States of America, they have the emoluments clause, and Trump basically pissed all over
means
that.
nothing. Yeah. Those
He
mean
just
nothing.
declared himself the king. So, I mean,
Yes.
you know.
Good.
And now I'd like to turn things over to Minister LaGrange.
Thank you, Premier. Last week, the former CEO of AHS filed a statement of claim. Upon review, the allegations and claims that have been made against me are false, while others will have to be investigated further as part of the Auditor General's work and the government's external third-party investigation that is being set up by Deputy Minister McPherson.
Okay.
We will be filing our...
The allegations against me are false. Doesn't say how. Doesn't say why.
It's just,
and any allegations about anybody else, well, those need to be investigated, though.
Yeah, but I'm good. I'm good. Don't worry about it. I did nothing wrong.
Statement of defense in the coming weeks, and will be vigorously, and I mean vigorously, defending against this claim. As this case is now before the courts, I want to remain mindful of that process, but want to reiterate what my office has previously shared. Since learning of...
Meanwhile, they've basically shuttered the Breakdown, Alberta, our friend Nate, because he told the truth.
And we found
Danielle
out
Smith is a gaslighting dictator.
And we found out in the statement of claim that, well, you know, you're the CEO of this, and well, everybody that works is for you. So this paramedic that's like 17 rungs lower than you on the org chart, fire him.
Yeah. Powerful people are trying to destroy the lives of an innocent man because he told the truth on them, which is what people are supposed to do. Tell the truth when bad people do bad things.
And
when bad people who have power will try and bury you.
Yeah. And when they couldn't fire him, now they tried to bury him in a $6 million suit.
Yeah.
But either way, they're just... Yeah, but either way, they're determining you're a person that shouldn't be allowed to eat anymore.
Yeah.
Right? If they're coming after your livelihood, fire him.
Yeah.
And then when that doesn't work, they sue you for $6 million. What is it other than... I don't think that... You know what? Your mouth, you use it too much, and I don't think you should be allowed to eat anymore.
Well, what happened to freedom of expression? We do know that there's limitations on freedom of expression as deemed by society, but that's not society. That's a political entity that's taking away his freedom of expression. And by the way, he told the truth. All he did was talk about what we read into the record. Well, what you read into the record. I had no part in it, but
everything he got was from newspaper and research and journalists and actual documentation and freedom of information requests.
Somebody powerful didn't like that they were being told on.
Potential concerns with chartered surgical facilities procurement. I repeatedly asked AHS for documentation to substantiate the concerns that were raised. It was extremely concerning that no substantive information and documentation have been provided to government after many, many months of requesting it. And that is why I issued a directive in December to compel AHS to share all details related to chartered surgical facility contracts. Issuing this directive was not about shutting down the review of AHS that had started. To the contrary, it was about understanding whether there was actual evidence of problems that were raised by the CEO, the former CEO of AHS, or whether AHS managed.
The Minister of Health, with whatever background professional she had before she became the Minister of Health, is going to be able to determine better than the CEO of AHS whether or not the proof she has is actual proof. And was it appropriate in any way for her to be asking for this?
Mm-hmm.
They're all talking about this as if it was normal. I asked her for this documentation. Again, I just keep on saying, if they're investigating something that may involve you, why would they put the information of what they found into your hands, the physical information? Like something in my, maybe there is, like I said, I don't know the ins and outs of these processes. I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But could I get a fact check on whether or not this is actually normal? Is this actually a legitimate request that should have been honored? Because I'm getting the feeling not. Because, and if it's not a request, well, then if you're standing up there and you're saying, well, I made an unreasonable request and she didn't comply with it, so then I got mad and took more action. That's corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole thing, right? It's, nobody has told us yet whether or not that request is actually legal or ethical or appropriate. But if it is inappropriate for her to be asking for that information, and that's why she had meetings with her and told her verbally, but would not give her the documentation information,
right?
The fact that she was asking for it, that's hugely wrong. That will get her in trouble in a courtroom if that is the case. But I don't know the law.
Discovery should be very interesting.
Management was simply attempting to disrupt the growth of chartered surgical facilities in the healthcare system. It's important for you to know that since I became the...
Wait a minute. Listen to that again, what she just said.
That were raised by the CEO, the former CEO of AHS, or whether AHS management was simply attempting to disrupt the growth of chartered surgical facilities in the healthcare system.
Whether they were trying to disrupt the growth of for-profit private clinics.
Yep. Again, her own board. And here's the thing as well that they're not talking about, right? When Danielle Smith says AHS wants all the surgeries to be at AHS hospitals that it controls.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that those surgical rooms are not being used 24/7. All those easy surgeries, those ones could be scheduled.
Correct.
From 6 o'clock in the evening on.
Yes.
Be done in the hospitals, have a dedicated room. Today we're just doing knee surgery, so you can do more of them because you only have to prepare for the knee surgery rather than preparing for every type of possible surgery. Right? Pay people a fee.
Yeah.
But that could all be done. Because in some of these fees we're paying, right, as we told you many, many months ago when we were looking in Ontario. Why is it so much more? Well, we're actually, some of the fees are covering some of the capital costs of the building and buying the equipment, whatnot, of these new people that are doing this. So it's like, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, wait a minute, it's like, if you're going to open a for-profit surgical center, then you should be covering the costs of all your equipment. You shouldn't be working some of that, getting a bonus, higher price to get the government to pay for some of that.
No, they're going to socialize the cost and privatize the profit.
Yeah. So that was, we found out that was what was going on in Ontario.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this is, again, just, if I had, but here's, I follow this kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And these are processes and rules and ethics and questions of law that I have no background in, right? So I only have my logic and deduction. It's like, well, you said this and you said this. This doesn't seem to go together, but I don't know if that's actually something. And she, like I said, Danielle Smith talks fast and makes a lot of claims. A lot of claims.
Easy.
So it's really hard to know.
Yeah.
But something does not sound right about all of this. Again, I don't know how it's all wrong, but something does not sound right.
Every time she opens her mouth to speak at the mic, this is what I hear.
Bullshit. 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 Bullshit.
It's important for you to know that since I became the minister in June of 2023, government has issued 18 directives to AHS related to health refocusing and increasing access to information. As Premier Smith has said, the use of chartered surgical facilities to address surgical volumes and help reduce wait times is a policy decision that was made by government. I firmly believe that concerns related to the procurement processes must be reviewed and investigated thoroughly to identify any potential wrongdoing or procurement process deficiencies. I am committed to ensuring our healthcare system and the procurement processes within it are beyond reproach. I look forward to continuing the critical work that Premier Smith has tasked me with and to refocus our healthcare system for the betterment of all Albertans. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Premier. We'll now go into the media Q&A. We'll start off with questions here in the room before making our way online. For those with questions in the room, please make your way to the media mic. Of course, we'll be taking one question and one follow-up to get to as many questions as possible. So we'll go to our first mic.
Thanks. Alana Smith, Globe and Mail. I want to ask a bit more about the timeline. So, Minister LaGrange, you've said it was 8 months that you were asking for information. You claim that nothing was provided to you that was sufficient enough. Premier, you've also reiterated that 8 months. That's what Adriana LaGrange said. Today you're using the term months. I don't know if that still refers to 8 months. In the former AHF Chief Executive Statement of Claim, it says September 16th. Minister LaGrange, you sat down to dinner with her where she told you about the internal review into a private surgical group. In October, she says that she had a meeting with Ray Gilmore. At the time, you're a deputy minister. So I just want to be as specific as possible, and if you can provide dates, that would be great. When exactly did both of you know about what was going on, and what exactly did you do when you found out?
A bullshit. A bullshit. A bullshit.
That's going to be her answer.
Well, she brought forward allegations. The former CEO brought forward allegations verbally, I would say in summer of 2024, which was roughly about 8 months ago. And I continually asked for updates as to what was going on because she was doing an internal review. And when she indicated that she wanted to go to a third-party review, that she thought perhaps there was something more, but everything was inconclusive at this point in time, I encouraged her to do so. So I knew that she was doing a third-party review, but I've constantly asked for updates. I need something substantive. My understanding is that everyone is innocent unless proven guilty. And we have also had a contract with ASG that was expiring, ASG Edmonton, that was expiring the end of October of 2024. And there was a need to, AHS actually was working on they were negotiating a new contract with them, and my understanding was that they were very close to finalizing that, but everything got paused because of the investigations, and rightly so, because we want to get down to the bottom of this. This is about making sure that we have good procurement processes within Alberta Health Services, and subsequently as we transition it to the Procurement and Optimization Secretariat.
I'm sorry, that question was for both of you.
Yeah. Sorry. I remember the minister telling me that there were some issues that she was looking at different prices for different for the same procedures at different facilities sometime in the fall, and I think that's kind of what we're looking into. Why does it cost, for instance, around $3,600 at Clearpoint versus $6,300, which is one of the ones that was just recently negotiated with Enoch? Versus
lots of numbers with no context.
Please give us some context. Spitting numbers at us means nothing, but one sounds more expensive than the other. So let's
but now
go
she's
with that.
talking about numbers. The question was, what did you know and when did you know it?
Oh no, she'll just pivot away from that immediately and throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. I mean,
And at the beginning, she told me some kind of thing at some time about the kind of. All of a sudden, she's not very precise, and then all of a sudden, she gets very precise on the costs of numbers again. But she's not very precise on the other.
Do you think we'll ever get to see her on the stand getting grilled by a good trial attorney?
I tell you, if ever it gets to the point that there's a deposition, she's in trouble.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because I think that this is so ingrained now, she cannot not do this because she lies about things that she doesn't even need to lie about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
She just lies.
100 at ASG versus 10,000 is 10,500, which is what the CIHI estimates for a cost of a surgery in a public hospital. We need to know that, why there are differences between that. So I think that is what the former AHS CEO was looking into. I know the minister.
Remember the data from David Clayman? She says that's the cost of a surgery, $10,500 at CIHI. Right? That's not the cost of the surgery. Well, sorry, but that's not the cost of the surgery. Like if the patient was going to be, right, billed by the company performing the surgery.
Mm-hmm.
The price per person that the government of Alberta pays is different than what CIHI estimates the full cost of that surgery to be.
Right.
So she's comparing the numbers of the contracts to the highest number possible.
Of course.
And then claiming that she's doing a good job at saving money. The problem, as she's mentioning here, is that there are huge discrepancies. They got some people doing it for 10,000, some people doing it for 3,000, some people doing it for 6. That's weird. Why would it cost $6,000 more to do a knee surgery at one chartered surgical facility than another? That's weird. Right? But she's like framing this as I'm saving money, but now there's all this weird pricing thing that we need to get. Yeah. But the reason that there's weird pricing, it seems the weird pricing again is that wine stained in the carpet, because it seems that the pricing got weird because the contracts were drawn up in weird ways, which is what the CEO was investigating.
Yes.
So again, she's talking about the stain of the carpet again, but not how the contracts got written that way. And she's trying to present it as a virtue that she's saving you money based on the CIHI cost, rather than choking you.
I would assume with the suit that she will have to take the stand at some point.
I would hope so, unless they settle with Smith. That's the whole thing, right? Well, you asked for 1.7 million. What if we say 3.7 million and we never talk about this again?
And sign an NDA.
Right.
We'll continue.
Raised it with me because we also want to understand why there are differences, and we hope that the AG is able to shed some light on that.
Sorry, just to clarify, so you're saying that the minister did raise to you the concerns and the allegations that the former CEO had put forward to her?
She raised to me that there were different prices for the same surgeries in different hospitals and different chartered surgical centers, and that they were trying to understand why that was. That was sometime in the fall.
Okay, so for my second question, I just want to be clear here, and this is for Minister LaGrange. I'm just hoping you can kind of explain. So for 8 months, like you've said, and I'll quote, you said you were asking repeatedly for information from the former CEO. So you knew about this for months. 8 months is what you keep saying. So if you knew about this investigation and the allegations that were happening into procurement and into AHS and allegations of government interference into these contracts, why didn't you tell the Premier specifically about the investigation itself, the very serious allegations that were going on, and not just, as you're explaining it today, the differences in pricing?
The allegations were about contracts that AHS had themselves, first of all, RFP'd then awarded, then negotiated, and then we're continuing to review. So these are internal AHS allegations that they were putting forward. And I would again say I am going to have much more to say in my statement of defense, which will be out in the coming weeks. But at the end of this, what I believe, and I know the Premier believes as well, we need transparency within our healthcare system. We need to know how these procurements are done and why it takes so long. From 2021 is when Enoch actually had responded, or the RFP for that Edmonton was in 2021, and Enoch was awarded it in 2022. Here we are 2025, and that contract has not even, and it was all through AHS negotiations. It still has yet to be signed.
But to be clear, you didn't tell her exactly about the investigation that was ongoing.
I did not bring it to the Premier because it was allegations of internal AHS, and until there's proof, there was not a need. But I will have much more to say in my statement of defense.
Isn't it important to bring that up to the Premier, though, that the health system that your government is working on refocusing?
These were allegations that were unsubstantiated, that required much more investigation, is my understanding, and that is what I was told. They needed to dig further, and I said, dig further, with my blessing, dig further. Absolutely.
Even when the Auditor General indicated that he had known about it in November, you didn't think it was appropriate to tell the Premier?
I've already answered the question.
We'll go.
No.
Go for it, Jason.
No, she hasn't. Okay.
I just want to ask a clarification about this idea that Darren Headley is the act.
That was terrible.
Oh, yes.
That was completely terrible. Because it wasn't just AHS, right? There's some allegations from the former CEO, that there was stuff going on in the Prime Minister's office, not the Prime Minister, the Premier's office, and in Adriana Lagrange's office too. It wasn't all internal to the AHS. The directives were coming down from the Minister's office and saying the prices will be this. This is not strictly internal AHS stuff. And again, right? She's known for 8 months. The Premier's only aware of something vague. She's throwing Lagrange under the bus right there. I say this, you say this, and but the thing that Danielle says saves her bacon. And if this goes boom, Adriana will be holding the bag with this particular setup. Like this, because Adriana herself is saying, well, no, I didn't tell them. It's like, you told her. You told her.
Yes.
You definitely told her, because all this BS that's going on now does not happen if you did not tell her. You told her. And Athanasios Salopoulos told you. She's admitting she knew 8 months before. Says, but I didn't have proof. The proof goes to the Auditor General or the RCMP, not to you.
It's just all so crooked.
The evidence does not go up to you for you to decide whether or not you're going to bring it to the CEO brings it to the board, and the board recommended it. That it goes to the RCMP. You guys bring it to the Auditor General. And if the Auditor General finds that, she or he sends what she finds to the RCMP, not back to you. That's the way these things work. You kept on asking for the proof to be given to you. Again, I do not know if that's a big no-no, but it seems to me illogical that an AHS CEO who's actually doing their job the right way would give evidence of wrongdoing to the people she is investigating, in part, rather than bring it to the board and then to authorities.
crooked as a dog's hind leg.
Deputy Minister. I mean, does this mean that Andre Tremblay wants all this?
Let's just back this up a bit so we can hear the full question.
I think it was appropriate to tell the Premier?
I've already answered the question.
We'll go for it, Jason.
I just want to ask a clarification about this idea that Darren Headley is the acting deputy minister. I mean, does this mean that Andre Tremblay, once all this gets cleared up potentially, reverts to having these 3 jobs? And how does it work? Is it good healthcare management or administrative management to have one individual holding what's normally 2 full-time jobs and the job of a board of directors?
So Andre Tremblay is not the Deputy Minister of Health. We have Darren Headley.
Is that indefinite? Or?
That is for this period of time. He is not the Deputy Minister of Health. His sole role that he's been assigned is to be the Chief Administrator.
Now, in the way that she phrased that, makes it sound like this Darren Headley had been the Deputy Minister of Health all along. Right? That's as of now. Right? So she's answering this question. Speaking from the current moment forward. Nothing about the past, but speaking from the current moment forward. All right, let's keep going.
All righty.
Pardon me, the official administrator and the CEO of Alberta Health Services. We had heard feedback from our cabinet that they were not comfortable with the mingled role, and so we have him in that role, and then Darren Headley is the acting Deputy Minister of Health, so that we can separate those 2 roles.
Okay, they were not comfortable in the mingled role.
Premier,
say that again, sir.
They indicated that they were not comfortable with the mingled role. Wow. Wrap that in cotton and make it sure it doesn't bump its head. Keep it nice. Well, that is the nicest way to say is they thought that was corrupt as fuck.
Separate those 2 roles.
My follow-up is, Premier, you've talked about your role and your lack of role in any wrongdoing. Have you had an eye constantly, or did you have an eye constantly on what your Chief of Staff, Marshall Smith, was doing vis-a-vis Alberta Health Services and Alberta Health? Were you always aware of what he was doing, who he was talking to, or was he at times freelancing?
Well, I think Marshall Smith has his own statement of defense that he's probably contemplating filing, and so
he's not a party in this lawsuit. I'm confused by that.
I would say that there's certainly some allegations that have been made against him, and I don't want to speak for him, but I would say that he had the role and function over several of my social files. And if there were any problems that needed to be troubleshooted, then he would do that. I think we have to remember that when AHS makes a decision to go out and do an RFP, awards a contract, gets involved in contract negotiations, if it's taking 4 years, it's actually quite legitimate to say, what's the delay? And that's what the minister did, and I kind of expect all of my ministers to do that.
So you're aware of everything that he was alleged, you're aware of all the calls he was alleged to have made?
I was not. I mean, he, again, as Chief of Staff, he had the role of operationally making sure that the decisions of government were executed. And government made a decision prior to me, prior to even Minister LaGrange being in this position, government made the decision to move towards charter surgical centres to reduce wait times. It was working, so they decided to issue more RFPs. AHS had the expertise to do procurement. They'd been doing it for years. And so it just stood to reason that AHS would be the one managing the process from beginning to end, all the way through to the completion and signing of the contract. And that's what I would say is what we were asking about, is why have you, where is the status of getting through to the end of it?
Interesting choice of words. That's what I would say. So did you say it, or?
So,
talking in circles.
The question was about Marshall Smith.
Yeah.
Her former Chief of Staff. And how much
she is his boss.
Yes. And would she be, because there was some stuff that the CEO alleges right? So they're keeping on saying it's all internal to the AHS. No, it's not. Your chief of staff or former chief of staff was involved in it. I say, well, I don't know. I don't really. I know. But she's literally throwing him under the bus. I mean, there's allegations, but yeah, but he's not named in the suit. Yeah, but there are allegations made against Marshall Smith. Lawyer up. That sound, that beep, 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 beep sound is her bus getting ready to run over you too. Wow. She'll sacrifice anyone. Anyone. She's dangerous. She's just all right.
This is. I have to share something with you right now. This is Danielle Smith. When she's talking, this is what I'm hearing.
Have you ever had a dream that you want him to do you so much you could do anything?
Like, that's what I hear. Absolute gibberish. It's
exhausting.
It is.
It's like we're only halfway through. Like, I don't want to do the rest. Like, we could stop now because it's just.
Yeah,
it's like that. It's like that the rest of the way.
I know.
It's like that the rest of the way.
I just can't anymore.
But here's the thing too, is that her normal cheerleaders, Don Brand and Rick Bell in the Calgary Herald, read Smith and Lagrange steamroll AHS in response to contract scandal. Amid all of this, neither Smith nor Lagrange has yet denied that some funny business could have gone on in their midst. Gee, with friends like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, remember, these are the people that were saying that just weeks ago saved Alberta on Inauguration Day. My, how fast they turn when there actually is blood in the water. Did staff of the Premier's office and the Health Department apply pressure on private surgery contracts to the benefit of favored companies? That question is the crux of the eruption triggered by AHS boss Athana Metsalopoulos in her wrongful dismissal suit filed last week. Yes, exactly. Did staff in the Premier's office and the Health Department apply pressure on private surgery contracts to benefit the favored companies? Not, why? There were so many differences in prices, and we didn't understand that's why, so we needed to get to the bottom of it. That's what Danielle Smith presented the problem as. Mr. Brand actually nailed it. There. The question is really the only one that matters. If Metsalopoulos had never raised it, she'd still be in her job of origami, folding AHS into the new acute care sector of the healthcare system. But the question was treated like a bad smell at Wednesday's long and winding news conference with Premier Danielle Smith and Health Minister Adriana Lagrange. They threw suspicion back on AHS itself. Smith several times said the health authority, not the government, was responsible for negotiating contracts. Metsalopoulos would probably agree in a general way if her lawyers would allow her to speak, but she'd surely add that government political players are not supposed to interfere either, especially when they seem to be demanding inflated contracts for companies they plead for, and in one case even worked for.
Mm-hmm.
Late in the long news conference, the question finally came from Lisa Johnson of the Canadian Press. These allegations are to government interference. Will you look into Marshall Smith's former chief of staff relationship with the various contractors, the other people who are named in these allegations, and their relationship with private contractors as part of this internal investigation? Once again, Smith body-checked AHS straight into the penalty box. Well, all of the procurement decisions were made by AHS, she said. They were the ones who went out and received the bids, they were the ones who chose the proposal, and then they were the ones who were charged with the task of negotiating the terms of the agreement. The only role that the minister or government has is saying, are you done yet? Have you got to the finish line yet? You've been working on these contracts for years. When can we expect them? And that's actually a legitimate role for government to play. And that's why the directive came down from the minister's office and saying that the fees that they will be paid are this. Because you were only asking if they were done yet.
Mm-hmm.
Girl. But Metsalopoulos is talking about a role government is not supposed to play, exercising undue influence that amounts to favoritism in lucrative contracts. The premier did acknowledge that private surgery companies often receive widely different fees for the same procedure. Clearpoint in Calgary, she said, gets $3,622 for surgery, while Alberta Surgical Group in Lethbridge and Red Deer is paid $6,950 for the same surgery.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird. That's very weird. Metsalopoulos was deeply concerned about ASG rates and demands. Smith said there may be valid reasons for the variance. For instance, Clearpoint already built a facility while ASG did not. Yes, but we're not supposed to pay for their facility to be built. Again, it's like, yes, but their facility wasn't built, so it's normal that they would cost more. No.
No. Not unless you're getting a kickback. Allegedly, presumably.
There are accounting rules for expending over time the amount you spend to build a facility. There are write-off provisions in accounting for that. The government does not need to compensate them for having built a facility. They wanted to provide this. That's like saying, like, you're going to pay. If you want pizza, you got to pay to build the pizzeria. You just want to buy the pizza. The pizzeria is up to the business owner. Right. Now, of course, rent and overhead and all that gets put into the price. But I mean, like, you don't get a bonus. It's like, well, the pizzeria next door has been there for 20 years, whereas we're a new one. So your pizza costs $10 more. Nobody will buy pizza there. It's like, this is, unless it's really, really damn good pizza. Then sometimes it's worth paying more.
Now I want pizza.
Sorry. So,
cold pizza for breakfast is always good.
Oh, yes. Amid all of this, neither Smith nor LaGrange has yet denied that some funny business could have gone on in their midst. They will investigate both through the Auditor General and a sole independent expert yet to be named, but not an active judge, though. Oh, no.
No,
not that. There will be a legal wall between the inquiry and LaGrange, as well as their former Deputy Minister Andre Tremblay. Tremblay, although replaced as deputy, will continue to serve as both AHS chief and administrator in place of the fired board. LaGrange stays in her ministerial post. So now Tremblay is the entire board.
Yeah.
Because the board has been fired. So he's got 100% control now. But she wants to believe that she took action by moving the other deputy minister. Oh my God. Asked if they will be questioned by the investigator, Smith's office replied, yes. And as the premier has said, Alberta's government will fully cooperate with the Auditor General and the external third party during their investigations. That legal wall had better be very high.
You think?
Damn, Mr. Braid. We are asked to believe that the two key players mentioned in Metsalopoulos' suit will have no influence on the inquiry, even though they continue to run both AHS and Alberta Health. LaGrange herself is lawyering up for a defense against Metsalopoulos' suit. The premier suggested that Marshall Smith might do the same. As she casually threw him under the bus. Nearly everyone in the AHS has shut up. There have been recent firings. The best desk is one to hide under. And the second question lingers. Why would Metsalopoulos, longtime deputy minister in both Alberta and BC, loyal government was to wind down the AHS, suddenly poke the bear in such a job-busting way? It seems that the people that are usually in a corner are not there. Oh, and by the way, Mr. Brand, a couple of days before, also referred to Minister Peter Guthrie as gutsy.
Mm-hmm.
That's not good for the premier. Meanwhile, Mr. Bell has one that says, an angry Danielle Smith swings hard against AHS allegations. Angry in a headline. Let's be real. Sexism is there.
Oh, it
Angry
is.
in a headline when you speak about a woman speaking.
Yeah.
Typically not flattering. Ooh, and the photo they used is definitely not flattering. Oh, God.
Oh.
Oh, okay. This is another thing, kits and cubs. The verbal messages, media literacy, and all of that kind of stuff. When somebody starts going down, especially if they had the press on their side, and then the press turns on them, you can usually tell by the pictures that they use to illustrate. Now, Danielle Smith, by several people's estimation, is an attractive woman.
Yes.
Pleasant to look at.
Yes.
Look at this picture.
I would agree with that.
Look at this picture.
A second till I pull it up.
Yeah.
That's which one do you want? The top one, the first one?
The top one, yeah, Rick Bell. The top one, where it looks where Adriana LaGrange is a little fuzzy in the background.
Yeah, okay, that's kind of what I thought. That's not a flattering photo of her.
No.
The night she won the election, she looked wonderful.
Yep.
She looks stressed here.
And we saw the video. She doesn't look this bad.
No.
Head on.
No.
Right? But the camera angle's a little tilted to the diagonal.
Yeah.
Right? She's not caught full face. She looks a little, the hair's a little tousled in the front. She looks older.
She looks stressed.
And tired and stressed. But they caught the picture. They published the picture that made it look like she's under fire.
Yeah.
Rather than controlling this. She's got it. That's a choice. That's a big editorial choice. And that's new. Premier Danielle Smith was angry Wednesday afternoon. She was plainly pissed off, and it showed. A little advice. When it comes to this yarn, if anybody has a bomb, drop it now. If anybody has a smoking gun, bring it out after you've dusted for fingerprints, because this scribbler is going to give it to you straight. Premier Danielle Smith stood at a podium in downtown Calgary after taking questions for 35 minutes, and truth be told, no one laid a glove on her. The needle didn't move to a hotter political temperature. If someone has any political gunpowder, they've kept it dry. The evidence can be found in the stories following Smith's turn on the stage. Nothing earth-shattering breaks. Nothing to have reporters running to editors telling them that they have to listen to the latest. In fact, a news story on the Smith question and answer gets fewer readers than the update on how Three Hills RCMP have identified a woman suspected of identity fraud. I kid you not. And hey, I wasn't even going to bring it to you. This is not trivial stuff. Truth be told, there are allegations. There are scathing allegations. Smith says these allegations are troubling. There is a lawsuit. Athana Metsalopoulos alleges big players in the Smith government were putting pressure on Alberta Health Services to ink big money contracts with certain publicly funded private surgical facilities. If true, it would open a nasty can of worms, and readers would gladly love to sift through the dirt. We have allegations. Metsalopoulos was the AHS boss, and she alleges she had concerns some real serious stuff could be going down, even criminal stuff, and she said she had people investigating, and last month she was fired. Senior government officials are mentioned in the lawsuit, as is Marshall Smith, the Premier's former chief of staff. After 35 minutes with Smith at the podium, a news hound on the phone line from Radio-Canada throws a Hail Mary pass, hoping against all hope for the big score. He asks Smith and her health minister, Adriana LaGrange, a point-blank question. Did they receive any kickbacks from any private surgical facilities? No, says Smith, with a lot of body and kickback.
Yes, yeah.
No, says LaGrange, absolutely not. At least that guy was hunting for the meat and potatoes. Through the 35 minutes, the Premier is on the attack. She has her game face on. Smith says some sorts in Smith says some sorts in and out of government don't want to part private surgical facilities funded by the taxpayer doing stuff like hip and knee replacements. Quote, AHS leadership has always shown us resistance, says the Premier. She says the contracts with these facilities was the business of AHS. She says the government wanted information on any monkey business with the contracts and didn't get the concrete evidence from the former AHS boss. If mistakes were made, they will be corrected, and if there's wrongdoing, there will be repercussions, adds the Premier. We know exactly where the bullseye is on Smith's dartboard. I want to reassure Albertans of our resolve. We will not allow anyone in Alberta Health Services Management or the NDP to frustrate the progress of improving our health system. We will not be intimidated by the resistance of Alberta Health Services and others who want to protect the status quo. Remember, Smith's strongest supporters cannot even say Alberta Health Services without their blood pressure going up. Smith also takes a swipe at the former AHS boss. Quote, we have a number of allegations made in the context of a demand letter for $1.7 million. I think we have to remember that context. I really hope Ms. Mitsalopoulos revises her statement of claim. That's a shady line. That's a shady line.
Very much so.
Demand letter for $1.7 million. Like someone's been taken ransom. Hostage was ransom. No. This is a wrongful dismissal suit.
Yeah.
It's not a demand letter. It's you broke a... In the process of writing funny contracts, allegedly, that I was investigating, you broke my contract. So I'm suing your ass. Because I know how you guys deal with contracts. I was investigating you.
Yeah.
I just... my God. Even Health Minister Lagrange talking about her statement of defense against the lawsuit. Quote, will be vigorously, and I mean vigorously, defending against this claim, she says. My understanding is everyone is innocent until proven guilty. Yeah. But if you're guilty, hopefully eventually you will be proven guilty. And if you are proven guilty, then when people look back at the things you said then, it will add color and texture. Because, like, if you are guilty AF as something, and you go to the wall saying you did nothing wrong, and it gets to court, and it's like, oh yeah, you did a lot of stuff wrong.
Yeah, you in trouble.
And then you go back and listen to those clips of 2 or 3 years previous. Now that you know, it adds something.
Just makes me think of Whoopi Goldberg and Ghost. Molly, you in danger, girl.
Smith says she did nothing wrong. Marshall Smith, not related to the Premier, but her former chief of staff, puts out a statement saying he has nothing to do with any contracts which are done by Alberta Health Services, and he says he didn't have any, quote, inappropriate communication with the former AHS boss. Quote, as I'm not a defendant in this matter, I have no opportunity to file a defense. I look forward to defending myself in a manner and time that is appropriate. The story is far from over, but if there is a blow the doors off scandal, as some suspect, we will have to get more of a glimpse of its ugly face. Face that Danielle Smith kept smothered under her pillow during the whole conference. So, yeah, this is bad.
Very bad.
Very bad.
Indeed.
Very bad. Very bad.
Somebody going to go to jail. Somebody should go to jail.
I won't go that far because there's still a lot of stuff that's not in the public domain yet.
True.
But it's looking that there's potential for somebody to say somebody should be going to jail.
I would agree with that.
I'll put it one step back. But this does not smell good in any way. And that performance, a lot of words moving fast, lots of arms flapping, moving a lot of wind, making noise, but not saying or doing much. Burying the truth and a whole fact of claims and statements and deflections and listen, she knows how to weave a tangled web. Let's just put it that way. Now, Mr. Grizzly, I've been paying attention to the chat, and there's some good news
What's that, sir?
for us. According to the Globe and Mail, and thank you to the kits who brought this to our attention in the chat. Liberal Party questions leadership candidate Ruby Dalla over possible interference from India.
Well, that we kind of knew that was going to happen, right?
Well, yes, but by Robert Fife. The Liberal Party has sent a list of questions to leadership candidate Ruby Dalla that raise concerns about possible foreign interference from India and alleged campaign irregularities, two Liberal sources say. Ms. Dalla, the sources say, was provided with 27 questions on Monday and given a deadline to respond. The sources say some of the questions involve possible foreign interference in her leadership campaign from the Indian government of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. There was also allegations, the sources say, of backroom involvement in her campaign by Conservatives such as Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown, a former Conservative MP and Ontario Party leader, and once friend of Modi. My personal editorial edition here. Other questions, according to the sources, involve the campaign donations of 12 individuals and several campaign staff who work for Ms. Dalla's real estate, healthcare, and hotel company. It remains unclear what effect the situation will have on her candidacy before the party holds two leadership debates on Monday and Tuesday in Montreal. The Liberals will choose a new party leader and Prime Minister on March 9th, replacing Justin Trudeau. The Globe and Mail is not identifying the sources who were not authorized to discuss internal party matters. The Dalla campaign said in a statement, quote, "The party has reached out to us with a list of questions that we are currently reviewing." That's a take on it.
Mm-hmm.
Liberal Party spokesperson Parker Lund did not respond to a request for comment. One of the sources said Liberal Party lawyer Alexis Levine questioned why 6 couples donated to the campaign using the same credit card.
Seems rather fishy, don't you think?
The party asked the 12 individuals to sign attestation forms that they have joint bank accounts, the source said. The source said the party has asked for all campaign phone records. Mr. Levine also raised questions about 4 volunteers who are employed by the Dalla group of companies, of which Ms. Dalla is president and CEO. The party lawyer asked those campaign workers to file sworn affidavits that they are truly volunteers, the source said. Justice Marie-Josée Hogg warned in her 193-page final report on foreign interference that meddling by foreign powers undermines trust in the electoral system and discourages diaspora communities from participating in Canadian democracy. Her report highlighted 6 instances of suspected foreign interference, some of which were not passed on to the Prime Minister. One of the incidents involved the government of India, which was suspected of using proxy agents to provide secret financial support to candidates from 3 political parties in a federal election. 2 weeks ago, the federal department that tracks suspected foreign interference said it detected, quote, coordinated and malicious activity targeting Liberal Party leadership candidate Chrystia Freeland. Global Affairs Rapid Response Mechanisms Canada said the activity has been traced to a WeChat account linked to the Chinese government. This is not the first run that Ms. Dalla, yes. This is not the first run-in that Ms. Dalla has had with party brass. Last week, the Liberal Party rejected a request from Ms. Dalla, who is not fluent in French, for a translator at the coming French debate on February 24th. The party said only candidates and the moderator will be allowed on the stage and no translation will be provided. The candidate plans to attend either way and will make opening and closing statements in French, but will not otherwise participate in the French debate. Ms. Dalla was the first woman of Indian origin to be elected to Parliament in 2004 before being defeated in 2011. In November, she was awarded the Outstanding Woman Hotelier of the Year award by the Asian American Hotel Owners Association. So, I was wondering when this was going to happen. So, could it be that the reason that they allowed the campaign to continue is they turned around and they said, well, yeah, okay. Arya Chandra and Ruby Dalla in the same leadership race, where the first guy is saying you don't need French and you can get rid of the monarchy, and paid a visit to Modi that had nothing to do with government business recently, and then her coming along all of a sudden, and everything on her feed is like pro-Trump, pro-America, pro all that kind of stuff.
Very much so.
Very much so. So all of a sudden, it's very suspicious. Now, Chandra, they eliminated him, but what if they left one in? What if they left one of the 2 in for a certain period to keep on monitoring how they would raise the full money?
Well,
and then,
having a conversation with the gents at the Scotch and Cigar Club, and I said to them, "We don't know who the next Liberal leader is," and they're all like, "Oh, we all know it's going to be Carney." I go, "Well, Ruby Dalek could get some money from Modi," and of course they all pissed themselves laughing because they go, "You know, if she gets enough votes from the Indian nation, the nation of India, the country, like allegedly Pierre Poilievre did, allegedly,
allegedly. So, but here's the thing. There's two things that happen, right? I know that this prime minister plays the long game.
Oh, yes.
So, given that they had until recently to raise $350,000, oh, Ruby Dalla, eh? Oh, pictures with Ted Cruz, eh? Oh, Trump in heels for Canada, eh? Okay. Let's approve your candidacy. Let's see how you raise that $350,000. If that's what happened, someone is clever. Someone gave her rope. And then they waited to see what she would do with it. Now she has to answer 27 questions. And I'm guessing if the answers aren't satisfactory, then probably just before the debate or something like that. All of a sudden, we only have 4 candidates. But now we have some data to look into as well. If that's what happened, then bravo for clever. The other thing I've been wondering is whether or not Pierre got rope-a-doped. Because everybody's been asking the entire time, why is Justin Trudeau staying so long? Right? He should go. He's damaging his party. He's got to go.
So he resigned. Yes. He is resigning once a new leader has been elected. He hasn't resigned
and
yet.
Something occurred to me because I think it was Michael Deatter that wrote this cartoon, drew this cartoon, I should say. And as I was watching it, as I looked at it, it's like it just hit me. What if? So we'll show the image. And again, this is my bias that the prime minister plays the long game. Doesn't go for the quick hit. So for those at home listening, it's a prime minister's walking towards the exit, and his shoe has a thread from Mr. Poilievre's pants, and every step that way that the prime minister takes, Pierre's pants start to unravel. Could it be that the prime minister had intended to resign all along?
It's possible.
But stayed as long as he could to get Prince Fuckwad to really commit to his bit.
Dig himself in deeper.
Really commit.
Maybe.
Because the Conservatives it seems that Conservatives were convinced that he was not going to go.
Yeah.
I think they resigned themselves. No, he is not going to go. Because he made no indication whatsoever. Until Chrysler Freeland did what she did, there was not a semblance of anything coming from the prime minister himself that would give anybody a hint that he was going to go. He always said he was staying. This is the fight of his life. He doesn't quit. So what if the Conservatives actually bought it? And then decided, you know what? Okay, then fine, we're going all in. And now Pierre can't pivot.
No, he can't. He's incapable of doing it to begin with. But now he's so locked into Justin Trudeau, just inflation. He's responsible for every bad thing in this country, even though most of it is conservative provincial premiers that have caused it.
And everybody else, just like Justin.
The amount of idiots I had to deal with yesterday telling me that Justin Trudeau locked down Canada for 2 years. I'm like, no, that was provincial premiers. Every mandate was provincial premiers. Every single one. No, that's true. That's not true. You're lying. Do not try to gaslight me. I have truth and history on my side.
Yep. Now, a couple of other little tidbits here. Doug Ford has a bit of an issue. Doug Ford hasn't spoken to the media in 7 days or 8 days. And he has no intention of speaking to the media for the rest of the political campaign.
Of course
So he's going to go spend a couple of days in the United States. Well, according to Laura Stone yesterday, Ontario isn't only running ads on U.S. networks. It's also sponsoring shows, including Sean Hannity's Fox News interview with Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Quote, "This program is brought to you by Ontario, Canada, your trusted economic partner."
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, listen, this guy's Teflon. I get it. But if nobody can take this and spin this over the next week in such a way to cause him such damage, I do not know how. First Stone. The Ontario government-sponsored Fox hosts news Sean Hannity's primetime interview with Donald Trump and Elon Musk, part of the multi-million-dollar advertising campaign the province is rolling out as the U.S. president repeatedly threatens to impose tariffs on Canadian goods, while the campaign is expected to cost tens of millions of dollars. The province is refusing to say exactly how much money is being spent on the ads, including the one for Hannity, one of the highest-rated U.S. cable news shows. Fox also did not respond to requests for comment about the cost and frequency of the ads. The sponsorship ad aired during Tuesday night's Hannity before Mr. Hannity pre-recorded the interview with Mr. Trump and Mr. Musk, the tech entrepreneur and Tesla CEO who leads a newly created Department of Government Efficiency initiative in the Trump administration. Quote, "This program is brought to you by Ontario, Canada, your trusted economic partner," the ad said, accompanied by an Ontario, Canada logo with a maple leaf. It was followed by an Ontario government commercial that showcases the strong economic ties between the two countries. A spokesperson for Ontario Progressive Conservative leader Doug Ford's re-election campaign said the sponsorship is part of the province's original deal with Fox and that no new money is being spent during the campaign, which will see Ontarians go to the polls on February 27th. As part of our U.S.-based marketing campaign that's raising awareness about Ontario's importance to America's economic success, Fox offered the province the opportunity to sponsor programming, Gracely said in an email. This was included as part of an overall ad buy that was finalized weeks ago. With President Trump threatening tariffs that would devastate Ontario's economy, we will do whatever it takes to stand up for Canadians, including by taking our message to U.S. airwaves and the shows we know Republicans and President Trump to watch. Bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Bullshit. I think she meant to say, we will do whatever it takes to stand up for not Ontarians by taking our message to the U.S. airwaves and spending tens of millions of dollars of your money, taxpayers, on financing the propagandists who are pushing for the economic annexation of our country. Buying an ad on Fox News is one thing. Sponsoring the Hannity show
is another.
Is a whole damn other. Oh, it was part of a package. You should have known better not to take that part of the package.
Sorry, Doug. I don't accept anything you say to me.
Canada is not for... Bullshit. Canada is not for sale. You are literally funding... You're Captain Canada, and this whole Buy Canadian era, we are finding out that you are spending tens of millions of dollars. And parts of those tens of millions of dollars is sponsoring directly the shows that are run by the propagandists that are putting out the propaganda, that it would be completely normal for Canada to just be absorbed. And why ever would we object? Remember Jesse Waters? I need to quench my imperialist thirst. I'm offended that you don't want to be American. Well, fuck you. I don't care that you're offended. Doug Ford is literally directly sponsoring those shows. And if he's gone into stealth mode and is not going to talk for 8 days, then somebody else better be filling up that time, raking him over the coals. You cannot defend Canada and fund the people trying to annex us at the same time.
I'm sorry, but it's just completely antithetical. It's what we call a conflict.
We have 1 week, Ontario.
I've already cast
Doug
my ballot.
Ford
My conscience is clean.
Doug Ford's campaign was a total bait and switch. He went in as Captain Canada, and now he is pushing deeper economic integration with a nation and a man that is hostile to us, and he is directly funding the propaganda shows that are actively calling for our annexation.
Well,
and he still won't break up that deal with Elon.
Case in point,
Doug,
this is from Donald Trump on his Truth Social. I'll be calling our great American hockey team this morning to spur them on towards victory tonight against Canada, which, with far lower taxes and much stronger security, will someday, maybe soon, become our cherished and very important 51st state. I will be speaking before the governors tonight in D.C. and will sadly therefore be unable to attend. But we will be watching, and if Governor Trudeau would like to join us, he would be most welcome. Good luck to everybody and have a great game tonight. Exciting. President Donald J. Trump. And Doug Ford is trying to climb into bed with this man.
Doug Ford wants to be family.
Yeah. Yeah, he does.
With this guy. Wants to be family. He wants a seat at the family table. He sees himself as a Trump. And I remind you, again, in that press conference, asked point blank, no, I have no relationship with him. Swore unwavering loyalty to a man with whom he has no personal relationship. Continued to swear loyalty to him after he knew about the 34 felony convictions in the E. Jean Carroll case on January 6th, and after he had already imposed tariffs on us in 2018.
Correct.
And wanted to impose them again. Still wanted him to win. Says he's Captain Canada. But goes there with glossy AmCam thing and says, hey, Canada, why don't we just snuggle deeper into the arms of the person that wants to snap our neck?
This man, the man who we're comparing him. Remember, I keep comparing him to Hitler, what Hitler did in 1933 when he took office. 1933, Adolf Hitler signs a document saying only he can make the law. 2025, Trump signs an executive order saying only he and his attorney general know what the law is.
Yep.
You do not do business with that man if you want to remain a sovereign nation.
You can't.
Cannot.
You can't. And again, that thing I said, all these companies are thinking, you're thinking about domiciling down there. Again, read that statement. Your business is not yours. You can just decide this is mine now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I make the law.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, nice Canada you got here. It would be a shame if something happened to it. Is what he's doing. And then he's hoping that all the businesses will move down there. And he gets down there. Oh, thank you for bringing all your business here. Nice business you got there. I think that's mine now. That's what Putin did.
That's exactly what he did. This is exactly what
people looked at it and said, okay, new frontier of democracy. Let's start doing business there. People started investing stuff. And the next number of years later, all of a sudden, people were running from Russia. Why? This is because the entire industries that they built. Putin said, no, I like this. I keep it in. So 1 week, 2 pictures. Theo Modakis, we showed you this one. This is who we're dealing with. This is who we're voting for.
The public Doug Ford. Canada is not for sale. And inverting the hat, the private Doug Ford. Love the reversible hat.
The reversible hats make America great again.
And of course, this one. A big, beautiful tunnel. He's just painting it on a wall.
Like Wile E. Coyote.
Wile E. Coyote.
These two capture Doug Ford perfectly.
Oh, yes.
The brilliance of Theomedakis. This is what you're voting for. A fresh coat of paint on a rock. And being told that that's a tunnel.
And wanting to deal with this guy. Right?
Right.
Trump.
Doug Ford's not one of us.
Trump looking over at Ukraine that has been run over by a Russian tank saying you never should have started it.
Yeah.
You cannot deal with this man.
We can't deal with this man.
Look, he hated NAFTA, tore it up. We renegotiated it for the USMCA in 2018. He signed it. 2025, who signed this terrible deal? This is the worst deal in history. But in 2018, he said it was the greatest deal ever negotiated. But because we sell them more oil, have a deficit of what, 150 billion. By the time these words are coming out of my mouth, he's probably upped it to 400 billion, knowing Trump, because he likes to inflate things and say things are bigger than they actually are.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there. I approve. Now,
this is what it boils down to: is you cannot deal with this man because his signature is meaningless. Any deal you sign with him is meaningless. He will Putin you. If you open up your company down there, he will take it over. Nice company. I think it's mine now. He declared himself king yesterday.
Yeah.
You can't do business with this man.
You can't do. Now, there's one last thing. Because Trump referred to it in there, is the hockey game that we got going on tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Final of the Four Nations thing. Mm-hmm. Canada versus the United States. It's in Boston. Well, yes. It seems that the hockey team had sent a message to Trump to invite him to come and watch the match for inspiration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My God, they fall apart when their anthem gets booed, don't they? They are not ready for. If they invade, they are not ready for the insurrection. They're my God, they're way too soft and tender. Jeez. So, but hear that, right? We're booing the national anthem because this government is threatening to annex us.
Mm-hmm.
They come with the violence. 3 fights in 9 seconds. Right? Then they invite the president. Come. So somebody there really, really wants to make it something other than what it is, right? It seems that, well, let me go to this one. This wasn't the Daily Beast, but not the most reputable stuff. But this is the factual part, so I'll just keep that. The U.S. hockey team said they would, quote, love it if President Donald Trump cheered them on at their match this weekend against Canada. Speaking to Fox News on Monday, Team USA's general manager Bill Guerin invited the president to attend their game in Boston on Thursday. Quote, we would love it if President Trump was in attendance, Guerin said. We have a room full of proud American players and coaches and staff, and listen, we're just trying to represent our country the best way we can. He also credited Trump's recent jabs at Canada and calls to turn it into the 51st state with helping improve his team's game. He said the two countries have always had, quote, political flair, and that our guys used that as inspiration. And he was hoping he would do that because it is 1 month of presidency and making America great again, while Trump did find time to go to the Super Bowl and the Daytona 500 to bask in the adulation. Remember, Trump is just playing president on TV this term. He's not, there's other people pulling lots of strings here.
Oh, yes.
He really truly is that TV president. Now, somebody, and I don't know who it is. I don't know if they're the ones that found it or they heard it from someone else. But this is at Mahi P. Grease at on Twitter. And if you're wondering why it is that Mr. Guérin thought that Mr. Trump would love to take him up on his invitation, or maybe why it is that he's trying to get Mr. Trump's attention.
Mm-hmm.
I just sent you something. There's something about Mr. Guérin that he has somewhat in common with the President of the United States, which I'm sure might have given him the impression that the President of the United States would be really willing to be his friend, and perhaps maybe even doing him a favor, though, down the road.
Oh, yes. Right.
Uh-huh.
Yes, let's just share this here. Lawsuit to be filed against Penguin's Bill Guerin alleging sexual assault cover-up. Bill Guerin was formerly the assistant GM in Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Trump, come. Oh, I tell you that there's also I also had a lawsuit. Maybe a little pardon would come in handy.
A woman
For a
sued
really good
Hockey
friend.
Canada in 2022, alleging she was sexually assaulted by 8 members of Canada's World Junior team after a fundraising gala in London 2018. Hockey Canada settled the lawsuit, then, in an investigation, revealed the organization had 2 secret funds to pay settlements or claims on claims of sexual assault and abuse. We've gone over this one before.
Yeah. So, yeah. He was
See.
Yeah. So yeah,
Bill
the role of
Guerin.
trying to cover that up. Erin Scald, wife of the professional hockey coach, to file sexual assault lawsuit against fellow coach. There was this wasn't the statement of claim as well. Okay, this was from 2021 in it. But yes, Robidoux and Blandon LLC will hold a Zoom press conference to discuss the imminent filing of a civil lawsuit on behalf of client Erin Scald, detailing a sexual assault by John Clark Donatelli, who at the time was the head coach of the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. So it seems that Bill Guerin, in this case, tried to make it go away.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it has to do with the Hockey Canada thing.
No, that was just listed as part of it, I guess. So
okay, yeah. So yeah, this is the Wilkes-Barre Scranton in the American Hockey League specifically. The lawsuit will state that the abuse took place on a team road trip in November 2018, and that the team's handling of the incident included someone being told to keep quiet by the organization management, the person who made the complaint being called a liar, and never being interviewed as part of the team's investigation, along with a certain person being fired from the organization. So yes, and of course the organization had made many public comments that they claim showed an utter disregard for the experience of an SA victim, and that had re-traumatized her several times. Yeah. So this is the quality of person
Bill Guerin is.
That was campaigning really hard for the President of the United States.
Well, birds of a feather. I mean, come on. We already know about Trump, his 34 felony convictions, and he's a convicted rapist of E. Jean Carroll. We know this. This is not secret. This is, and the people that try and deny that and say he's innocent, I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. Look, Pat King was convicted yesterday. He gets 3 months, and he has to serve him at home. Yeah, conditional. And
he got 12 in total, but 9 was considered time served.
Correct. So he's got to serve him at home in Alberta, in his home with his. What's the name of the person who has to?
His surety.
Surety. Thank you. I was missing that word. And somebody said, "How do you feel about that?" And I go, "Hey, look, I don't think it's justice, but that's what the judge saw. So I accept it. I'm not going to protest it. I don't like it. I think he should have actually got some hard time for what he did, personally, because my experience on what he caused in my neighborhood was living hell. But I accept the judge's statement. I accept his conditional conviction, and that's all there is to it. I accept it. I don't like it, but I accept it. Now,
so just to finish, I just want to. I'll let you finish.
Go ahead.
I'll give more detail. No, I was going to give more details on the Pat King thing.
Go ahead.
But I don't want to cut you.
Go ahead.
Okay.
No, that's it. No, go ahead.
Okay. So yes, he was convicted in Ontario Superior Court on 5 criminal charges. So I think he was charged with 10 in all. So he's convicted on 5.
Mm-hmm.
Mischief, counseling to commit mischief, counseling to obstruct a public or peace officer, and 2 counts of disobeying a court order. Superior Court Justice Charles Hackland found King, quote, personally led a large convoy and was, quote, an active participant with supporters in disrupting Ottawa services and bringing, quote, the core of the city to a standstill in January and February 2022. Hackland said in his sentencing decision that King accepted, quote, minimal responsibility, but offered a sincere apology for his actions. I'm not sure how both of those go together, but okay. The courtroom was filled with supporters of King alongside media, police, lawyers, and a few members of the general public who are following developments in convoy trials. King is expected to serve his 90-day period of house arrest in Alberta, but his lawyer told the court he has found employment at a social media company in Quebec.
Interesting.
He's expected to move to the Montreal area after his conditional sentence ends. This man should not be allowed to work for any social media anything.
No, I'm just curious how well he's going to do in Montreal.
As well. Yes. Crown Prosecutor Moise Karimji said King's offenses were, quote, of the worst kind and asked for 10-year sentence, the maximum penalty for mischief. King's defense requested time served, citing the days he spent behind bars after his February 22 arrest. The Alberta native was given a 12-month sentence Wednesday with 9 months credit for time served in jail and under restrictive bail conditions. Conditions for the other 3 months include being on good behavior and check-in with the court. King is the first convicted leader of the Freedom Convoy to face significant punishment. Others, including Tamara Litch and Chris Barber, are waiting for the outcomes of their trials. King did not speak publicly following the sentence, with his lawyer Natasha Calvino citing his restrictive bail conditions. Quote, "We hope to get that lifted very soon," she said. "Mr. King will get his voice back." King's sentence struck the correct balance, quote, between what Mr. King did and what Mr. King didn't do, Calvino said. You can take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
The 10-year sentence sought by the Crown would have made King, quote, a political prisoner, she said. That they would be sentencing Mr. King for the sum total of everything that was done by every individual in the Freedom Convoy. And while I understand that, yes, probably he should not be sentenced for the sum total of everything that was done by every individual in the Freedom Convoy. If it were not for him, there would have been no Freedom Convoy and no sum total of everything that was done by every other individual.
Yeah.
I find it hard to dissociate them both. I guess that's why we have judges that are more learned and have more discernment than I do, because I see it all as the same damn thing. Whether you did it or whether you inspiredly want to do it, it all comes back to you.
How's he going to do in Montreal when he's been out in Alberta bashing Quebec for years? Like, this should be interesting.
Should be interesting. Last little tidbit for you, kits and cubs. This is financial. Inflation numbers came in, and it seems that we've had a little tick up in our inflation rate. I believe it was to 1.9% from 1.8%. Which isn't a big deal and kind of expected in certain ways. And we'll probably see another tick back up as well in the following number, because now the HST, starting February 16th, is back on certain stuff. But there's some good news here this time. Additional good news is that the consumer price index rose to 1.9%, as higher energy prices weighing on overall inflation were partly offset by federal government's tax holiday. So we knew that prices of gas would go up, and so it would have been up higher were it not for the tax holiday, basically because of gas. January marked the first full month that the GST holiday was in effect, temporarily lowering the price of products to which the tax is usually applied, including restaurant meals, alcohol bought in stores, plus toys, some games, and hobby supplies. Meanwhile, energy prices rose 5.3% on a yearly basis in January, a sizable jump from the month before. Gas pump prices rose 8.6% last month compared to a year earlier, with the largest increase happening in Manitoba, where a provincial fuel tax was reintroduced at a lower rate. With gas excluded, inflation came in at 1.7%. Food inflation fell slightly compared to the same period last year. This is good news because food inflation has still sort of been going up a little bit, even though the core inflation number has been going down. But food inflation fell slightly compared to the same period last year, marking the first yearly decline since May 2017.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So this is significant. The decrease was led by a record decline in the price of food bought at restaurants. Andrew DiCapua, principal economist at the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, wrote in a note to clients that while the GST holiday helped lower prices for food, alcohol, and clothing, that relief was overshadowed by higher energy prices, which kept overall inflation pressures elevated. Now, elevated, 1.9. It's below the 2% target. So elevated is relative here. Core inflation still shows persistent underlying pressures, and volatile elements like energy will continue to swing the numbers in the months ahead. Even so, stronger inflation amid retailers, price discounts, and budding economic activity in the fourth quarter will likely give the Bank of Canada some confidence to hold interest rates steady at its March meeting. So here they're claiming for steady rates. I still think that there's a chance that they'll go down in March. Still, especially if there's some tariff pressure coming. Especially if there are tariffs that are imposed on March 3rd or 4th or something like that. Then again on the 12th, the second round of them, or if they're delayed again. All right. That's all I got. Mr. Grizzly, have you got anything else?
One thing I wanted to share with you, and I thought this was rather interesting. This is from Colin DeMello from Global News.
I like it.
This is, well, after days of heavy snow, we got an aerial view of the roof of, let's try this again. After days of heavy snow, we got an aerial view of the roof of the Ontario Science Centre, which was closed last year over concerns about the structural integrity of the roof.
Yes.
The Progressive Conservative said last year the building, which is more than 50 years old, is at risk of potential roof panel failure due to snow load as early as this winter. Let's just go full screen here and watch this video. I don't see any issues with the roof of the Ontario Science Centre with, 60 centimeters of snow that have fallen in Toronto over the last few days?
Yeah. Again, this should be all over the news right now. With somebody making the link.
Basically, Doug is just trying to give it up to his developer friends. There's nothing wrong with that roof at all. Nope. I don't see a problem there, do you? Because it looks pretty intact to me.
It looks pretty solid considering that we got some places, I'm not sure if that was the case from Toronto, but got more snow in that one storm than the total accumulation of all last year.
Yeah. So
if it was going to give in or give way, this would have been the storm to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But look at that. Turns out that it was built for several years. Was it 100 years?
They built it 250. 250 years is what it was built for.
Huh. Funny that.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show? We gotta get rid of this guy. Please, Ontario, show up.
I'll repeat what I said yesterday. When you go to cast your ballot, when you get to the polling station, don't just vote for yourself. Vote for your community. Vote for your neighbor. Vote for the neighbor down the street whose child has autism. Vote for the friend or the family member you knew who spent hours waiting to get into an ER only to find out it was closed. Vote for children who are in schools that are falling apart. Vote for seniors in long-term care residents who Doug said he put an iron ring around to protect, and what he did was put an iron ring around the shareholders. Vote for the Greenbelt. Vote for your friends, your family, your community. Vote for the person who will do the most for those people. Vote for the underprivileged. Vote for the person on the street corner injecting heroin into their veins because they hate life so much, because they're so miserable, because they've been pushed into poverty, because they can't afford a place to live. Vote for that person. Vote for somebody who will make that person's life better, because if their life gets better, so will yours. It's been proven time and time again. So that's what you need to do when you go out and vote in this election. Vote for the best member that will do the best for the community that you live in, not for some rich, wealthy developer. Vote for the person who will do the best for your community. I already cast my ballot. My conscience is clean.
Make sure to fill out your Doug Ford removal kit.
Correct.
It's very handy. By the way, advanced voting starts today.
There you go.
No time like the present. Like Kit Elaine says, or to paraphrase Kit Elaine, if you vote to remove Doug Ford out today, you don't have to remember to do it on the 27th.
Correct.
Shop today. All right. Kids and cubs. That's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. And also, I think it was yesterday I saw something in the chat. If I'm not mistaken, it was Kit Uncover who was feeling a little under the weather. I hope you're feeling better. And I believe I missed Nona's birthday. So happy belated birthday, Nona. Yay. So if you do not want to miss an episode, well, you don't have to. Thanks to the Ray Girl. She sponsors our pod page. That QR code that just appeared, if you scan that, that will bring you right there. And if you are listening, then you go to podpage.com/thetruenortheagerbeaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you click subscribe there, when we have something that comes fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. You don't even have to go looking for it because we like to help. Now, if you would like to support us in other ways, like, for example, subscribing to our YouTube page, well, then surf yourself on down there, True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated. And Kit Elaine and Kit Cassie will be there to welcome you and invite you to smash with our buttons. We're very friendly here. Like, share, and subscribe. Just smash away. Have fun. It helps us with the algorithm, so it makes us very grateful. Thank you. And if you would like to help us in yet other ways, because we do incur some costs to bring this show to you, if you would like to help us underwrite those costs, we have a little tip jar. We like to call it the Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund because, well, your eager beaver loves a good hot chocolate, helps me write my stories, and Mr. Grizzly loves a nice, strong cup of coffee. Helps him get started for all the technical stuff he needs to, and, it puts him in a better mood to handle when tech goes awry. And we like to have a happy Grizzly. So if you would like to buy me a hot chocolate or buy Mr. Grizzly a coffee, say, add a beaver, add a grizzly, well, then you go to our coffee page. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And there you will find the tip jar. Now, coffee does work through PayPal, which is, American and CEO. So if you would like to buy Canadian, our email address is truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, and you can send a direct transfer. And while you're at that email address, why don't you let us know what you think? Because we love to hear from you. So write to us. Or you can write to us at our Twitter feed, at True Eager, also at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, at True Eager, our Facebook page, True North Eager Beaver, or right here on YouTube if you're listening. We have a comment section down below. Just let us know what you think. We do try to read everything, even though we're not able to answer everything, and your comments do make the show better. So thank you very much for everything that you do. Now, if you're not able to contribute financially, don't worry, because the gift of your attention and participation is the one that means the most to us. So don't worry. Just come back every morning. We'll be happy to have you here. Okay? Because democracy is something that you do. Quebec Liberal leadership race. Look up at your candidates. Ontario. Get your vote in. Make a plan to vote. Remember, friends don't let friends do democracy alone, and democracy is not a spectator sport. Do not give me 43% voter turnout this time, Ontario. Come on. Get out and vote. Put your body in the game. All right. And of course, liberal leadership race. For the federal liberal leadership, the debates are coming on the 24th and 25th. So get ready for those, so that if you are registered to vote in it, you can cast a fully informed vote of your own. All right. Well, you've already given us words of wisdom, but do you have any more wisdom, Mr. Grizzly?
Yeah. For those of you who aren't aware, you do not need to be registered to vote. Just show up with 2 pieces of ID.
Yes.
A government-issued photo ID. If you don't have one, that's fine. You can bring a hydro bill and a phone bill, a cable bill, an internet bill, something that shows you your address and your name. And you can vote.
Yep.
This voter registration card is an American thing. It's never been a thing in this country before. I've never heard of it before. I think it's just a huge tactic to try and dissuade, disarm, and confuse voters.
Yep.
People will get, I got it in the mail. I'm like, what the hell? Voter registration? What are you talking about? I've voted in every election since I was 18.
Yep.
What is going on? I'm registered to vote. Wait a minute. We don't register to vote. We just show up and do it.
Yep.
This is to dissuade people.
Yep. It is.
It's just a tactic to confuse you. So don't let it do that. Just show up with your identification and cast your ballot.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Grizzly. Also, for those living in Manitoba, a provincial by-election has been called for East Winnipeg's Transcona riding on March 18th. The Manitoba government made the announcement on Tuesday. So if you're from Manitoba, there's another way you can do some democracy. So find out about your candidates and get involved there. All right, kids and cubs. It could be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, cue the cock, please. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.
I don't know what to say about this, so I'm just going to put it on the screen and just, damn it. It's very upsetting. Just give me a sec here while I cue it up. There it is.
Okay.
Here we go. This is upsetting. And it's just another strike against, it's another strike against democracy. It's a strike against freedom. It's a strike against thought. Dolly Parton calls out Indiana governor over plan to dump her imagination library.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it just.
Oh my God.
If it's not one thing, it's another, right? But like, holy.
You know you've lost the plot if you're going against Dolly Parton.
Well, I mean, Dolly, really?
She's an angel.
She's beloved. The country singer who started the book gifting program to encourage early literacy urged Governor Mike Braun to reconsider the state's proposed budget, which does not include the usual 50% matching funds to provide to finance the initiative. The beauty of the Imagination Library is that it unites us all, regardless of politics, because every child deserves the chance to dream big and succeed. Under the program, young registered children received a free book once a month until the age of 5, almost like it's coming directly from a fairy godmother named Dolly Parton. The country singer started the Imagination Library in 1995 to inspire a love of reading. Dolly Parton was inspired by her own father's inability to read and write to launch the initiative. Although it started in the U.S., it now sends out over 2 million free books to each month to children around the world. The program runs via shared funding by Parton and local community partners in the U.S., Canada, the U.K., Australia, and Ireland. She touted the program's success in the Hoosier state as she urged the state's lawmakers to reconsider. For the past 2 years, the state of Indiana has been a proud partner in bringing Dolly Parton's Imagination Library to over 125,000 Hoosier children each month. Her statement said, Together, we've helped nurture a love of reading, given families precious moments of joy, and built a foundation for lifelong learning. According to research conducted by the National Assessment of Adult Literacy, early literacy significantly contributes to both academic and personal success. They are trying to destroy democracy. They are succeeding. They are doing it in real time, right in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let it happen.
All right. Since I
Gotta
want to
go.
leave you with someone positive,
Okay.
just a big shout out to everyone who gave their best at the Invictus Games.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
BC. They had the closing ceremonies not too long ago. Bare Naked Ladies were there. Singer Marie-May. If you are a francophone, you know her. If you're Anglophone, you might know her too. She does a couple of songs every now and then. She did a duet with Simple Plan a while ago.
Mhm.
But yeah, a crowd of 12,000 was gathered at the Rogers Arena. And everything about the Invictus Games for me is something that's great. So the Duke of Sussex was there, of course. Rick Hansen was there. Ashley McIver was there. She's a Paralympic Olympic gold medalist, Paralympics bronze medalist. Alexis Guimont, Vancouver Mayor, was there. American musicians Jelly Roll and the Warren Treaty were there as well. So it was just this nice gathering, and everything about the games were good. And I want to also give a shout out to BC Premier David Eby, who spoke at the opening ceremony and was able to broach the issue of the tensions between Canada and the USA politically in an extremely diplomatic way, because that's a difficult subject to raise in this type of context, and made it such that the stadium was filled with nothing but love for the American competitors.
Mhm.
So, way to handle it, Premier. Way to show some statementship, and congratulations to everybody that had anything to do with these games. It's the second time that the games have been hosted in Canada, so hopefully we'll get to have them again.
I think we will. All right. Gotta
All
go.
right. Bye.
We'll see you soon.